Welcome back. This is Wayne with Diggin' Diesel. Today I want to talk about Ram 3500. Is it the ultimate tow rig? I'm going to go over some of the highlights, the lowlights, what I like, don't like, and how I have it set up for towing, what I found has worked best for my personal situation. So let's get into it. As far as the payload, tow capacity, gross vehicle weight rating, those are all going to be pretty similar when it comes to a 1-ton truck. The biggest difference you're going to see is going to be your selection as far as the trim packages go, as well as the cab. You know, if you have a standard cab, long bed, that's going to give you the most bang for your buck. If you got to tow as heavy as you can, close to that 40,000 pound rating, then that's going to be where you need to go. Now, if it's going to be something that you're going to daily drive, you know, you're going to have the family in there, you're going to tow some on the weekends, where it's a 50-50 split, then that's going to affect the tow capacity a little bit. But again, these things are rated so high, it's going to be difficult to run into overloading these. Granted, fifth wheel manufacturing companies, they're making the trailers bigger and bigger and bigger. I know when we bought ours, it was 2021. And it's a 16,005, and that's all in. You know, that's the trailer, everything in there, full water tanks, black tank, gray tank, the whole 9 yards. The newer ones that are really quality built, some of the Brinkleys, Fusions, things like that, they're pushing north of 20,000 pounds. So the trucks, honestly, they're going to continue to go up with the gross vehicle weight rating just to accommodate what is being made by these travel trailer companies. Just as a quick highlight for me, adaptive cruise control while towing and the blind spot, those were two big selling points for me. It's nice to be able to set the cruise control and have it take into consideration that you are plugged into a trailer. It's going to go ahead and be very adjustable as far as the gap goes. When I'm towing, this one I have it 4 clicks out, so it's going to slow down pretty early on. It's really seamless. It's not jerky by any means. As traffic is slowly, starting to reduce its speed ahead of you, the truck, it's right in line with it. It's not like it waits to the last second. It's smooth, so much so sometimes you'll be driving along and you look down at the speedometer and realize you're doing 55 instead of 75. And that's because traffic just slowed down and you didn't realize it. With the blind spot monitoring system, when you're towing a larger fifth wheel trailer, it does not work. When you plug in, the truck realizes that you're plugged into a trailer and it has you select whether it's a conventional trailer, fifth wheel, gooseneck, that sort of thing. And the main reason for that is it's going to go ahead and let the brake controller know, and it's also going to either leave the blind spot on or off on the truck. Now, if you're towing a conventional trailer, I think it will go up to 30 feet back and the blind spot monitor system will work, and it self-recognizes that just through the rear sensors. All right, let's get into the list of pros that I have. For me, what seems like almost unlimited power. I'm sure if you got higher and higher up, closer to the max rating on the truck, you would be a little stretched for power. Me, 16,500 pounds, I'm about halfway for what this truck is rated to tow. But that high output Cummins, it just gives and gives and gives. It does come at a cost, which is one of my cons. We'll get into that. And then the Aisin transmission that it's mated with. Overall, it's a great transmission. It is heavy duty, and you can feel that it's heavy duty. So again, that falls on my pro and con list. When you're towing, it's tremendous. It has a little bit of issues with searching for gears, but typically when you have it in tow haul mode, it does a good job. I don't feel like I'm gonna break the transmission at all. I have no qualms about getting into it full throttle to pass somebody, let it downshift, but you do have to think about it. It can take anywhere from 7 to 10 seconds for it to downshift and make that move. So you really have to be cognizant of that when you are driving the truck. Another pro for me is going to be the ride. Overall, it's pretty good, especially when you're towing. It is a 1-ton truck. It's got a lot of leaf springs back there. I did add overload air spring on there just to give you a little bit of cushion, so when you are towing, it gives just a little extra dampening over the leaf springs that are on the truck. So if you're buying this strictly as a daily driver, I would highly recommend going with the 2500. That comes with coil springs in the back, and there is a significant difference in ride quality. One thing you could do is possibly get the air ride on this truck. From what I heard, though, I haven't driven one personally, it can be pretty stiff as well when you're towing, more so than the leaf springs. But when you're driving unladen, it does ride smoother than this truck. And the simplest fix for me when I'm not towing is lower the tire pressure. If you drop it down, you do have 4 tires back there. These are commercial tires. I do have 19.5s, so they are rated at 110 psi. Typically when I'm towing, I have them all set at 100 psi. But when I am just driving this and it's outside of the time of year when we're doing family vacations, the rear tires, I'm dropping those down to about 65, 70 psi. Makes a big difference in the overall ride quality. It just takes that choppiness out that you typically get out on the interstate. Another huge plus for me is going to be the backup cameras. This one has the 360 system, so I have it in the mirrors, have it out front, have it up here on the third brake light, and it is also on the tailgate as well. So it gives you a close-up angle when you're actually trying to hook up the receiver just with the conventional trailer. And then also that upper one, it looks straight down into your bed, making it a lot easier to line up either a fifth wheel or a goose ball. And just to show you on the backup cam, here's the 360 view. So that shows you exactly where you're at. Basically, it stitches together the view from all of the cameras and makes it look more like a satellite type view. So it's a really cool system. I have a tendency to focus more so on where I'm backing up, but still that's a really cool feature to have. Now, as far as the backup cameras go, this is the one up in the tailgate. So this is just kind of a general view here. Looking back, I'll show you all the different options when it comes to the backup camera. This right here brings it a lot closer, it narrows it in so you can look at the actual receiver. Here's the front view. This is good when you're pulling out of a back alley and you can't tell if there's vehicles coming up. It's a nice wide angle so you can basically see around corners. And here's just a straightforward view out of that front camera. And this is just more so if you're pulling up to a wall, something like that, you can get yourself really close. You can see the very edge of the front bumper there, so you can pull up and ride on top of things. And then the one that I really enjoy, typically when my tonneau's open all the way, but this right here, it actually gives you a direction arrow showing you as you're backing up to either a fifth wheel or your goose ball. And then we can also go to both sides. This is great when you're backing up with the trailer. It gives you a full shot. You can go all the way to the left only, and you can go all the way to the right as well. I like the split view. It's really cool once in a while, especially if you're out on the interstate, kind of a narrow highway. It gives you a good reference point if it's a shoulderless. That way you can see where your tire's at. Eventually in time when you drive these, you don't even think about it. It's all pretty straightforward. And again, these just go back to the other backup cameras. And this will bring me right into the next pro. This is the Uconnect 12-inch. Love the screen. It has a stacked screen on there, so it's kind of like the standard one, but that it gives you the option to, run controls, navigation. You can run your Apple CarPlay, and you can stack it. So it's really neat to be able to do that. There's a lot of functionality in there. Heated and cool seats, another huge plus for me. Heated steering wheel. I'm in North Texas. Our winter's about 2 weeks long, so I usually don't get the opportunity to use that. But if you live in a northern climate, I could imagine that being used every day. That is something that you can also set up. So if you do the remote start, you can have the heated seat start, and you can also have your heated steering wheel start. So when you come out in the wintertime, it's warm and ready to go. Comfort features, we all love them. With this 5th gen, it still has the options of the mechanical buttons here, which was big for me. I know when we got into the refresh here in 2024, I think a lot of these buttons disappeared. So for me, I like having the mechanical buttons. I like having the brake controller right here. 4-wheel drive, I'm not sure if that has been integrated digital or if it's still mechanical on the facelift. Now, as far as interior comfort goes, I do have the Mega Cab. I got this, my kids are getting older, and just having the significant amount of legroom that the Mega Cab offers, you can't beat it. Tons of legroom, the seats recline, there's storage underneath, there's storage behind. If you're a hot shotter, it doubles as a bed. I mean, you can lay it down flat, you can have a sleeping bag, air mattress in here. It gives you tons of space. And with that space, you also get storage. And as far as comfort goes, you can't beat Ram's interior. I mean, it truly is top notch when it comes to comfort, functionality. I love it. I've sat for 1,000 miles, minimal stops. And the seat, it has just enough bolstering. It has plenty of width in there, and it's very supportive. Has the heated and cooled seats. The only plus that I could see adding was massaging seat, but my wife has that in her Ford Explorer. It's okay. I don't think it's something I'd necessarily spend the money for, but if you have lower back issues, it could definitely be helpful. Center console on these, it's huge, tons and tons of storage. Biggest complaint, we'll go ahead and lead into that since we're in here, is visibility. It takes some time to get used to it, but the area between your upper mirror and the top of the U-connect, I can touch it with one hand, and that's not even trying. So visibility, there is kind of a blind spot there. You find yourself ducking down all the time when you're inside city traffic and driving around. But minor price to pay to have such a comfortable interior. Talking about that rear view mirror, that's going to get me started on the cons with the truck. So the rear view, it limits visibility. Other thing is DEF and fuel economy. Driving this on the regular basis, just commuting with it, it hardly uses any DEF. I mean, realistically, you could go 2,500 miles on a tank of DEF, but when it comes to towing, again, everybody's situation is a little bit different, but for me, I pretty consistently see that 600-700 miles, you're going to be down to about a quarter tank on your DEF. I think it came to about 160 miles per gallon on the DEF system when I was towing. I personally don't like to run it too low. DEF systems, it has a tendency to get crystallization in there, so the lower you get it, the more opportunity you have for oxygen and moisture, which can create the crystals, which will cause you some grief. So I normally try to stay at least half full when it comes to the DEF system. Fuel miles per gallon, as I mentioned, when I'm towing, I think I averaged on our last 4,000 mile trip right at about 7.5 miles to the gallon. It's not terrible, but when you think about a 18-wheeler where they're doing 4.5, 5 miles to the gallon, so about 30% worse fuel economy, but they can tow 80,000 pounds. As opposed to this, you're limited to about 30,000 pounds. So if you're going to tow really heavy, just get a big rig, or don't worry about the fuel economy. For daily driving, the Aisin transmission, I mentioned that on the pros. It's also a con as well. It's very clunky. You know that you have an industrial transmission in there. The only peace of mind that I have with that is I know it's going to last forever. As long as this engine's going to be in the truck, that transmission is too. I know there was a period there, I think in 2022, where they had a little bit of manufacturing issue, but overall, these things are pretty much bulletproof. What I do plan on doing in the future to try and make it a little bit better is I think PPEI has made a tune for the transmission. I'm going to go ahead and get that in there. If you can just speed up the defueling process as you shift between gears, I think it would be a great transmission. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't compare when you're talking about the Ford 10-speed or the Chevy. Those things are just butter smooth. I think as far as longevity goes, you might get a little bit more out of the Aisin, but the Ford and Chevy, they have pretty much proven themselves that their transmissions are top-notch as well. The second downfall when towing with fuel economy and the mega cab is a 30-gallon tank. When you're towing and you're getting 7.5 miles to the gallon, you're lucky to get over 200 miles on a tank. For us, it works out good. The kids are young enough, their bladders can only hold for so long, so we're making a stop anyways at about that 200 mile mark, 3.5, 4 hours into a trip. But when you're older and you just want to get across the country with the load, it's going to be a problem. So either you have the option of putting a transfer tank in there, or I think S&B makes a oversized tank in here that's closer to 50 gallons. And with that, you're almost going to double the distance you can go. You could probably go north of 400 plus miles on a tank of gas. Again, that's mega cab specific. If you have a long bed and you have, I think it's the 40 or 45 gallon tank, it's not going to be as big of an issue. That brings me to parts. Dodge Ram, Mopar, bring down your prices. I know it leaves a lot of room for the secondhand market. Doc's diesel is probably the best option to have aftermarket fuel filters, but if you go to the Mopar parts counter, you're looking at about $250 for those two fuel filters, and they're every 15,000 miles. So it'd be nice if they can come down on that. Unfortunately, it's just kind of a downfall of owning a Mopar, but it gives you good filtration, a good peace of mind when it comes to having clean fuel going through your Cummins. That brings me to parts. Dodge Ram, Mopar, bring down your prices. I know it leaves a lot of room for the secondhand market. Doc's diesel is probably the best option to have aftermarket fuel filters. But if you go to the Mopar parts counter, you're looking at about $250 for those 2 fuel filters, and they're every 15,000 miles. So it'd be nice if they can come down on that. Unfortunately, it's just kind of a downfall of owning a Mopar, but it gives you good filtration, a good peace of mind when it comes to having clean fuel going through your Cummins. I know you're all thinking it, so I'm gonna say it. There's a moose in the room, right? The moose ears, the side mirrors. Ram has had these things forever. I'm glad on the facelift they went to a better style. Don't get me wrong, these work great when you're towing, when you have them out, but when you're driving down the road, they look ridiculous. You can get away with a little bit more on a dually, but previous truck I had, it was a 4th gen Ram, and it was just the crew cab, short bed, and that thing looked ridiculous when you had the moose ears out. So there you have it. Good job, Ram. I'm glad you changed. All right, that wraps it up for my pros and cons on the truck. Let me know what you think. I know we all use these trucks for different things. We live in different parts of the region, and we have different issues, different things that bother us, different things that impress us. It's constant work in progress. I'm glad the manufacturers, they listen to us. They love to see feedback like this. It helps them to continuously improve the product. My overall impressions are, I like it. I love it. I've had Ford. I have not had Chevy. I'll be straightforward with you. I think this is my 5th Ram. First time owning a high output, and over the standard output, it's night and day. And then the stability with a dually and towing a large 5th wheel trailer, second to none. All right, final thoughts on it. Ram 3500 high output Cummins with the Aisin transmission. Is it worth it? Absolutely. Don't get me wrong, it has its downfalls. I think every manufacturer has downfalls. There's going to be something that just doesn't work for us. But what list is longer, the cons or the pros? And ultimately, what works best for you? What do you like? And for me, this is tremendous. Again, there's some tweaks that can be made, but in general, I'd buy it again in a heartbeat. Okay, that wraps up my list. There's pros and cons for everybody. That was just a short list, one that I put together just on this most recent trip. I've owned a couple of other Rams. I've had a 3rd gen and a 4th gen. I had an old Super Duty that had the 7.3 International motor. That thing was a great truck as well. Ford has a great platform. Chevy has a great platform. It's just all what we are used to, what we like, what we don't like. So let me know what your thoughts are. What do you love about your Ram? What would you change? Let me know what I missed. As always, I appreciate the feedback. Drop it in the comments. I love seeing what everybody has to say. Until next time, see ya.